Oh, good evening. We'll go and get started. Sorry we're a little bit late. Call this meeting to order. This is the City Council meeting. We already met earlier in closed session. If we can have just a quick report out, and then we'll go into the rest of the agenda.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. The City Council has reconvened for closed session with no reportable action being taken.
Thank you. Okay, next, before we start on the pledge, you know, one of the things I've been wanting to do, I've asked maybe some of the other mayors to consider it, but Brett, would you mind introducing your staff that's here so at least the public will know who everybody is?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I'd be happy to do that. We have Andy Perea. He's the Interim Development Services Director. And we have Maria Luisa Valdez. She's the Interim Administrative Services Director. Ron Noda, he's Recreation Manager. Sean Connolly, Captain, the Police Department. Dave Hunt is our City Engineer. And we have our, can introduce, it's supposed to be Robert Acosta. No.
Yeah. McFarland.
Tracy.
Yeah.
Tracy McClellan with our
OCFA.
OCFA.
Great. Thank you. And City Attorney's here, Michael. City Clerk's there. Thank you very much.
Wendy Quintanar, Wendy Quintanar is the City Clerk, and Eric Nunez, the Police Chief, and Michael Doubt, our City Attorney.
Great, thank you. Okay, so next we'll do the pledge, and then we'll go into the invocation. I'll ask you to remain standing for the invocation.
Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please bow your heads. Oh, Creator of everything, we just appreciate that you're here with us. We ask for your blessings and on these proceedings that we will do the will of the people and look out for their best interests. And I know there'll be some tough decisions that we will be making up here. Please guide those as we deliberate and as we vote and, again, attend to our municipal affairs. Please protect those that wear the flag of the United States, our firefighters, our law enforcement, our war fighters. Please put a hedge of protection around them. We ask this in your great name. Amen. Thank you. If the council can join me down in the front, we have some presentations.
Someone's spinning some tires out there.
Oh, yeah. You. Oh, if they're all here? Okay. Okay. So we're here to recognize the National Water Polo Champion. I'd like to just call up their coach. Jason Nost. Thank you. And Coach, you know, I'll ask you to introduce your players if you wouldn't mind. And you want to talk about your team and what they achieved?
Sure. I'd like to talk about the team. First of all, this is a team that is here in the Orange County area. A lot of them are in the Los Al community. And we actually practice at the high school right here, Los Al High School. And this group, majority of this group won the national championship 2 years ago as 12 and unders. And they did it again this year as 14 and unders. And one thing that I would like to say about this team is the character of this team. The identity of this team, I believe, throughout the water polo community is that they understand the team foundation, as far as every individual does their part for the overall success of the team. And you can see that they take that in the water as well as out of the water. And in their community and at school, you know, the social media, I see a lot of postings and I hear a lot of information from parents, players about how, you know, somebody's having trouble and they're helping each other out, whether it's in the water or out of the water. You know, I'd like to introduce, first of all, Coach Stephanie Mutafian. Coach, come on up. Coach Mutafian played at Cal. She's also a Los Al High School graduate, played at Los Al High School. And also Assistant Coach Luis Moreno, big part of our team. And also I'd like to introduce Sean Little, who is one of our administrative partners on this team and big support and part of this team as well. First of all, the players. I'd like to, Izzy, come on up. Gabby Grinnell, come on up. Livy Olette, come on up. Kayla Ole. Mike, and come on down. Mike and Pardon. Avery, come on down, Avery. Okay, now this is where it gets very difficult. Okay, is it Sydney? Oh my gosh, I got it right. Sydney Monatonis. And Sophia Monatonis. Ashley Heron. Jennifer Conley. Selena Moreno. And what's your
Yeah, MVP.
what's her name again?
I think it's Zoe.
Zoe Seabach. Mackenzie Wilkerson. Shanna Davidson. Jasmine Sandoval. And this is the 2018 national champion 14 and under water polo team.
You know the drill, the shorter ones in front, the taller ones in back. Yeah, squeeze in. Yeah.
Like kneel or be in the front.
There we go. Squeeze in. I'm too short. That's okay. It's all right. I'm good.
I'm gonna take a few pictures. All right. Everyone look up here. Okay, you ready? 1, 2. A few more. 1, 2. One more. 1, 2. Thank you.
Good job, ladies. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
I left my agenda up there. What's next?
Skip that one. It's okay.
And if I can just stick around just a little bit, I'm going to actually put our city clerk on the spot. I know that. Anyways, our city clerk, Windmira Quintanar, has completed her. What is it? You have to come up. You have to come up here, Wendy. And I think what I want you to do is maybe address some of the younger folks in the audience here. No, but again, tell them about career paths. I think it's really good. I mean, this is something you might want to think about in your education as things you might want to do from a job standpoint, because there will be need for what Wendy does for us. She takes really good care of us, and we are here to recognize her achievement of your master municipal clerk. Which, how many people achieve that? Not that many.
It's the highest designation you can receive as a city clerk.
Okay, so maybe you just, I'm going to put you on the spot. I don't know. How about just say a little bit about what you do for the young people here?
So I'm the city clerk. I get to help the council and all of the staff here. Part of being the city clerk is networking and being involved with your colleagues and finding the best practices. And so I took my education seriously, and with council support and the support of the city manager, I've achieved my certified municipal clerk in 2012, and I just recently finished my master municipal clerk. And
I know. She works really hard. She's running our election this year, and there's a lot of candidates. Some are out here and to speak. But thank you very much. Congratulations on your achievement. Thanks for speaking about, I know it was difficult. All right. Thank you all. Thanks, ladies. Congratulations. Gotta get better after that one.
When I come in and say I don't want to speak, and you're just like, oh, you'll be fine. How's it feel, huh?
Mike, here and take notes.
Okay. Somebody's got to stay, don't they?
No, that's okay. Well, the new school year started, so these are all the government guys.
Oh.
Congratulations on the government kids for showing up early.
Right? And then last minute.
No, wait. I think that this one.
Best camera.
Okay, back on our agenda. Let's see if we can get some of the. All right, great. Thank you. Thank you. All right, next up on our agenda is the public participation, oral communications. So at this time, any individual in the audience may come forward to speak on any item within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. Remarks are to be limited to not more than 5 minutes per speaker. So are there any speakers? Hello.
Hello, I'm Shelley Henderson. I'm here as chairman of the Los Alamitos Area Chamber of Commerce. With the election season opening, I just wanted to let everyone know that we will be inviting all verified candidates for the council election to our next networking breakfast. They will get 3 minutes each to convince our members that they should be voted for. They can stick around and answer questions after the meeting breaks up, but 3 minutes. Last meeting we had over 50 attendees, so it would be a good place to make your case. That will be the first Friday in September, and it will be at Madeira's, so you know that the food will be good. Thank you.
A quick question. So, thank you for the offer. So, will the candidates be able to buy extra time with that $20 donation?
If you want to buy an extra slot for $20, we'll take your $20.
Okay.
I don't think anyone wants to hear us speak for more than 3 minutes.
I know. All right. Thank you.
It would be in with the danger of wearing out your welcome, but we'll take your money.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello. Honorable members of the Los Alamitos City Council. My name is Matthew Hom, and it is my honor to return to this chamber and once again speak before you on behalf of Bend the Arc Jewish Action. Since I was last here on May 21st, Federal Judge John Mendez dismissed the Department of Justice's claims against SB 54 in the case United States versus California. Even though court proceedings for the lawsuit against you begin this Friday, the swift and decisive implosion of this attempt to dismantle our sanctuary policy should give this City Council pause and lead it to reconsider its divisive and harmful path. The premise of Ordinance 2018-03 was that SB 54 was so obviously unconstitutional that you could not uphold the oath you took without defying it, although neither as an executive legislative body nor as a municipality is it your prerogative to judge the fitness of federal or state laws. A court has now ruled that California is merely directing the priorities of its own law enforcement bodies, but not impeding the ability of ICE to enforce federal immigration law. This time, I do not wish to harp upon certain council members' self-righteous political grandstanding on right-wing media or at the White House, but rather to ask you sincerely to reflect upon what has resulted. Grave damage to the city's reputation and its social cohesion, as many people feel profoundly threatened in their physical safety and sense of belonging to the community. We must address the hate circus of white supremacist and nativist groups that roamed Orange County civic centers for a month from March to April, spewing deplorable racism, misogyny, anti-Semitism, homophobia, and of course, demonization of immigrants. Since there's no time for me to recite a long list of the horrible things that were said and done at these meetings, including here, I respectfully refer your attention to this extensive summary by the Southern Poverty Law Center called Racism Rampant at California City Council Meetings on Sanctuary Policies. This happened not only here, but but also in at least a dozen of other cities. And this council bears much responsibility for that because it initiated the anti-sanctuary wave in Orange County, as some of you have proudly declared on numerous occasions. As a result, people all across the county feel endangered. Some fear being ripped apart from their families and stolen away from the only country they have come to know and love. But also many citizens don't trust that this council will affirm the values of diversity, tolerance, and inclusivity, which are what truly make America great. We all respect the men and women of law enforcement, but it is not an overreaction for people far less privileged than myself to worry that a police apparatus that has been directed from above to stigmatize immigrants will have the vision to prioritize the combating of hate crimes and the victimization of the most vulnerable amongst us. And yet, as far as I know, this council has not yet endeavored to take responsibility for this situation in good faith. During the March and April meetings, after numerous speakers pled for you to ponder the harm that would be done if the ordinance passed, many council members reacted with feigned indignation that anyone would question their motives, demanding that we accept that you are, quote, not anti-immigrant, only anti-illegal immigration. Meanwhile, some members tried to wash their hands of these consequences by equating those of us standing in solidarity with immigrants with those outside spouting vile hatred, just like Trump talked about, quote, both sides at Charlottesville. If this council will not work to heal and repair the wounds in Los Alamitos, then we will. As many people in this chamber know, on August 11th, last Saturday, there was an event called OC Sacred Resistance, Celebration of Sanctuary at the Community Congregational United Church of Christ on Catella. It was my honor to participate on behalf of Bend the Ark. This was an interfaith event in which we not only had musical performances, community testimonials from impacted people, but it was an interfaith celebration of immigrants, hearing from the Jewish, Buddhist, Christian, and Muslim traditions. As well, we had a sacred procession down Bloomfield from the church to Little Cottonwood Park, in which we declared our solidarity and unity on behalf of immigrants and for the values that we as religious people and of people of no religious denomination celebrate, such as tolerance, diversity, and solidarity. And therefore, we would implore this council, even as the legal process goes forward, to, in good faith, affirm these values, affirm the humanity of your immigrant constituents, and the American values that make us all great, which are the seeing the common humanity in all Americans and all people. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Matthew, I have a question. You still live in Cerritos, correct?
Correct.
Thank you very much. You know, I hope you recognize we're attending to our municipal affairs. The state does not own our police force. I hope you recognize that. Okay, thank you. But thank you for speaking.
Thank you.
Good evening. With all this talk of elections, candidates, and all that jazz, I would just like to say that my name is Tanya Doby, and you can vote for me come November 6th. I'm a current Parks and Recs commissioner, and I took part in the ad hoc committee to redo Labradette Park. So I'm excited. I hope y'all are excited. Now you can look for my face. I am Tanya Doby. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya.
I'm also running for council member, so I'm Gigi. If you see it, you'll see it, Giselle Gigi Finch, and I'm running as well. So.
Gigi, thank you for being here. I appreciate you coming forward. We get to see, you know, who you are. I appreciate you, speak up, please.
Some of you, but not all of you.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Oh, is Art running too?
No, he didn't pull paper.
That's what you thought. Oh, just a stealth candidate. No. My name is Art DeBolt. I am a resident of Los Alamitos. And, oh, sure.
I apologize.
Anyway, I would just like to affirm what I feel is the majority view in the city of Los Alamitos supporting your actions with respect to the sanctuary city issue. I'm out and about every day in Los Alamitos, starting at 7 in the morning at a local business, having breakfast at any one of 3 or 4 establishments here in town throughout the day. My job requires that I be up and down the streets of Los Alamitos in my job as a property manager. I'm talking to tenants, I'm talking to property owners, and to a person, I have not encountered any type of threats, any type of ill will that's coming their way as a result of whatever actions you have been taking. I find the rhetoric from people who don't live in the city, the bad words, the whatever they're referring to, have been brought into the city by people who do not live in the city. And I commend you for voting your conscience, and you have support. Whether you voted for it or not doesn't really matter. The main thing is that you vote your conscience and that you have a pulse for the feeling of the people, which you have, and I think it's borne out. That's just about all I can say. This has been if there's been any ill will, it's coming from out of the city, not within the city. And just want to thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak? Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and close oral communications. Next on the agenda would be council announcements. Who would like to start? Anybody?
I attended the Chamber of Commerce, the Young Professionals Mixer over at Brew Kitchen, which was very well attended. I always want to thank Joe over at Brew Kitchen. He always opens up his restaurant to all of our businesses and our networking events, which is great. I'm not always sure he makes money at those things, but it's nice that we have a place to go gather. I attended the last movie in the park over at Little Cottonwood. Those are just outstanding events to watch all the families being walking into Little Cottonwood for some music, some food, and a good movie. So hopefully we'll be continuing that next year as well. I attended National Night Out on probably the hottest day of the year, and all of us in our black suits and black uniforms and everything else, but we sweated it out. I think it was better attended than it's ever been. It was very, very crowded. Target was giving out free hot dogs. There was music there. It was just great. I attended the Chamber breakfast last month. I want to thank the Chamber for inviting me to speak. Hopefully I didn't embarrass too many people. I did a quick update on just some of the state happenings, some of the county happenings, and also what's going on in our city. Tried to gear it towards the businesses, but threw in some residential and personal stuff as well. And I want to congratulate the seniors sitting here. You're back to school, and I know why you're here. You're here for that senior government class, and you're getting your first task out of the way instead of waiting till December. So congratulations, and enjoy the rest of your fall quarter. That's it.
Thank you. Richard?
Okay. I attended the Orange County Fair night for the city, and also was at the night out. It was very warm. Chief, I hope you'll send your congratulations to our officers. It was a phenomenal night. I mean, as Shelley said, I think the attendance was at least 50% higher than it had been. And with all this going on nationally, with people bashing the blue, I was glad to see that our citizens were out there in order to do that. Was also at the Chamber breakfast, where my colleague gave an excellent analysis of various state bills that are affecting us, other than SB 54. Now, on SB 54, as a former accountant who ran on the fact that I was going to not spend your money unwisely, I'm concerned we've never done an economic analysis on this, on SB 54. So I started to do my own and spoke to 13 people I thought in the area who are paying attention. I know they bleed blue for the city. And originally when I started talking to them, 11 people were for our action. 2 people were against the vote for SB 54. I presented them with a few facts that I had found out, and that starts with our last meeting. The mayor said that it's our goal to make case law in this case. Well, that means that at a minimum we go to the Court of Appeals, and most likely will not stop there, but we'll have to go all the way to the state Supreme Court. That is a commitment I don't know if I'm ready to make. In speaking to several lawyers and retired lawyers, I got estimates of what it's going to take to go to the state Supreme Court of anywhere from $500,000 to $4 million. And there's various factors involved here that I'm not going to go into, but the trial can take longer or shorter depending on how things work. Now, assuming a mid-range of $2 million, that's a lot of money for this case, and I think there's better avenues we could be taking. And unfortunately, on the $2 million, that assumes we win. If we are to lose this case, we are stuck with the other side's legal fees. And we have what's called a blended rate of $200 an hour, which is very cheap for those of you who don't know. The average attorney is anywhere from the $600 to $800 range, which means that if we put in the time to spend $2 million, they're likely to spend $6 or $8 million. These numbers scare me. We have an $8 million reserve. $3 million of it's set aside for emergency fund, and $3 million is set forward for the pension costs, mostly for the police. We cannot afford to spend $2 million and then pay the ACLU's legal fees on top of that, in my opinion. Please take it, this is one person's opinion. Finally, there is a thing in the law called a multiplier. If the judge, and remember, we're dealing with California judges here, if the judge does not like our lawsuit, and in order to encourage firms like Latham and Watkins for doing this on a free or pro bono basis, they don't get paid unless they win, the judge at his discretion can multiply their award, which would mean fees anywhere northwards of $8 million. I would like to, I think it's necessary for us to explain this to our citizens via the next council meeting, agendize it on the council meeting, have a workshop, something. But when I got done with the 13 people and explained these numbers, only one person was for it. 12 were against spending the money. People support what we're doing, and I think we should be congratulated. We started the ball rolling. Mayor Edgar and Mayor Pro Tem Kuzumoto have done a phenomenal job of appearing on Fox to press our case. We do get these outside analysis. You know, we know what we see, what we voted for. But I'm questioning if now is not the time for our city to let some other cities who are further along take over the lawsuit, and for us to get out of the lawsuit business. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Churko.
Sure. So I am on the Orange County Mosquito and Vector Control Board, and I attended their meeting last week, and I was very excited to see so many people today celebrating World Mosquito Day today. Thank you all for celebrating that. But seriously, today is World Mosquito Day. It's a commemoration of British doctor Sir Ronald Ross's discovery in 1897 that mosquitoes transmit malaria. And basically, it's just to raise awareness regarding the possible diseases that mosquitoes can transmit. As you may know, West Nile virus has been detected in Orange County, which happens most years now, but the prevalence of West Nile is not alarming quite yet, but just a reminder to take precautions, dump standing water, wear long sleeves or mosquito repellent at dusk and dawn, because mosquitoes can transmit some pretty nasty stuff. I also attended the Youth Center Leadership Academy. This is a great event for teenagers. Teaches great life skills, including personal finance, resume writing, how to do a proper handshake, change tires, a lot of things that I wish personally someone had taught me earlier in life. So if anybody out there watching has teenagers, you should definitely look into that. I also attended the Los Alamitos Chamber Young Professionals Mixer at Brew Kitchen Ale House. That was a great event. I attended, along with Councilmember Kusumoto, the final Zoning Code Update Committee meeting last Monday, National Night Out as well, supporting our police department, and the police promotional ceremony. Congratulations to 2 of our officers for being promoted, and we also have 2 new hires as well. And I filed and announced I'm running for City Council. It's been an honor to serve the city and its residents, and I hope to continue doing so. And then just one, couple final points. Speakers in the audience talked about this, and I'm happy to hear one of my colleagues coming around to where I was in March and April, talking about the cost that would be incurred if we passed the ordinance opposing SB 54. I argued at that point the cost would be phenomenal. It's proving to be phenomenal. We have spent at least $135,000 to date on that lawsuit. And what tangible benefit have we achieved? What do we have to show? It's changed nothing in our policing. And we're at the very beginning stages of this lawsuit. It's going to get, as Councilmember Murphy explained, it's going to get a whole lot more expensive. This is also the 6th straight meeting we've talked about immigration. When I talk to our law enforcement officials, they will tell you, they told me, we don't have an illegal immigration problem in our city, yet we're spending time, money, effort, energy, and focus on this month after month. We're wasting time and money. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Churko. So I also attended the Zoning Code Update Advisory Committee with Councilmember Churko. That was our 5th and final. There was actually a pretty good turnout there because it's going to be talking about parking, which we're going to address in our agenda coming up. I did miss National Night Out, but for a good reason. I had the opportunity to attend the All California Defense Summit up at Sacramento, and that's where municipalities all throughout the state that have a military installation next to their community get together, and it is an association to ensure that California still gets the federal dollars for the defense of our nation. So it was really interesting. Assembly member Rocky Chavez from San Diego kind of gave one kind of sobering statistic that the defense dollars that this state gets from the federal government exceeds the gross domestic product that we have of rice, of almonds, of a lot of the farm crops, yet we almost hear nothing about the defense spending and the budget that we get. So we have this base over here that we partner with as best we can, and that is, in some ways, it's a good resource, but not probably well used, and I think we've got a chance to further partner with them and maybe attract some federal dollars to help out with any of their missions. And it also helped the local economy because there's a thing called the money multiplier. For every dollar that comes in here, it multiplies, it changes hands maybe 3 times. So there's that. And again, there's a this association, the Association of Defense Communities, which we should be more active in. And I know former council member Dean Gross is really active in that, we ought to be looking to partner with, again, the bases that are here. The bases here, we have also the Naval Weapons Station at our neighbor down to the south. So anyways, it was a really good conference. I was so happy to be there. Had a few contacts, and I'll be working with the city manager to see how we might expand on any kind of partnership opportunities we have there. And then in addition to the base, we have some entities here that do a lot of business with the federal government in the defense sector. Down the street, Arrowhead, Alliance Space Systems, I know they do NASA contracts, and I know we've got NovaWorks, which I think is still fledgling, but they're out there. So we have some, and then of course we have IEEE down the road, software, the Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers. And this chapter over here is software, and cyber security, cyber defense is going to be a big field. So you high school folks, you seniors, that's a career path that there's not enough workers for. So if you have that knack for computers, computer programming, there's a desperate need for cybersecurity. So with that, I think the last thing I just wanted to give a little public service announcement for is on Saturday, September 8th, out here in the parking lot, as a private citizen, I'm hosting the National Drive Electric Week plug-in day. And that's when all of us drivers of electric cars will gather, and hope members of the public that are interested and curious and want to know more about electric cars that will show up there, ask us questions. Maybe they'll get an opportunity for a test drive. But the virtues, the clean air virtue, the not using fossil fuels, if we can go to renewable energy sources, of just our mobility and just the value of electric cars. And so if you're available, stop on by. If it's for 15 minutes or a half hour, you can ask questions. Last year we had, I think, do you remember, Shelley, how many cars? 30 to 35 cars. And yeah, a couple of Tesla Roadsters. The Orange County Tesla Club will probably be there in force, so we might be overwhelmed with them, but other cars will be there that are already registered. So National Drive Electric Week, and I don't know, Brett, you showed up, and I appreciate that we're able to rent the facility. So with that, that's my comments, and I'll turn it over to item number 9, item from the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council. I just wanted to announce that we are planning an event to celebrate the beautification of the grand opening of Los Alamitos Boulevard, and it is being planned for Monday, November 5th. So it will be a combination of a celebration of the beautification of Los Alamitos, that's going to be the title, and thanking all the businesses along Los Alamitos Boulevard for putting up with the construction during that time period. So mark your calendars for that. We're excited about it. And Emlyn and Ron and their team and Chelsea and all of us are putting together our thoughts, but we've walked the boulevard and talked to the businesses along there, and they're enthusiastic. So we want to invite as much of the community to attend as possible. I want to get that out there early. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Next would be warrants. So is there a motion on the warrants?
I'll move.
Second.
Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Edgar, absent. Mayor Pro Tem Kusamoto.
Aye.
Councilmember Turco.
Aye.
Councilmember Hasselbrink.
Aye.
Councilmember Murphy.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. On the consent calendar. So all consent calendar items may be acted upon by one motion unless a council member requests a separate action on a specific item. Are there any items that anybody wants to pull?
C, please.
C. Okay, I want to pull that, so good. Anything else? I want to pull also B. Is there a motion on the balance?
I'll move.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, can we take these in order, Councilmember Murphy, if that's okay?
Get them in order.
Yeah, fine.
Okay, so city manager, just a real quick on B.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. This is an item that we are bringing forward basically to repeal a previous resolution that was adopted by the council to participate in California First PACE Energy program. And the council at the time, back in 2016, had adopted this resolution to allow one commercial business that had come forward to request these PACE improvements at their particular site. We talked to the owner. We talked about the possibility of, now that it doesn't seem to be needed any longer, repealing the resolution. The owner was on board and in fact thanked the city council for adopting this program in the first place. They didn't end up using the program. They ended up going forward with their own private financing, but I think they leveraged it. They used it to leverage that. So that's what this item is about, to repeal that resolution that was adopted for one particular commercial business at the time.
Okay, any comments on that? Because I do have some. So I want to thank the city manager for bringing this back. I did request that we go ahead and revoke this resolution because it took a few meetings for us to convince ourselves we wanted to try this this PACE funding, which is property assessed clean energy, which is basically a tack onto someone's property bill. So we did a lot of deliberation, and it almost didn't get granted to this parcel, and we made it very specific to this one location, if my memory serves. Right, it was just a very, very narrow focus, and we could do it citywide. Other cities have done it citywide, but we chose to try this on a very, very specific parcel, and it was going to benefit the property owner if they were able to go through with this. So I think the message here to the council on this, the fact that they didn't use it, I think we've been really doing the right thing for our residents and our community by not adopting the PACE program citywide. And I'd like to encourage any business that wants to look at PACE to come over here and allow us the opportunity to look at a very specific parcel like we did for this one property. And maybe it'll work for them, maybe it won't. But I'd like to say to the council, I've been really skeptical about PACE. We'll see if it could be made to work for somebody, but I think this may be an additional indication that PACE may not be the right thing for our municipality. So with that, I want to go ahead and move this one.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. No noes? No. Okay. Unanimous. Thank you. And then C. Did you want to report?
Yeah, no, I have a simple question. Do you want to report? Because you pulled it also.
Go ahead. And,
All right.
No.
My question is this. We're giving this guy $30,000. Is there not arbitration we can go through to say, writing us one threatening letter wasn't really worth $30,000? Or are we stuck?
What the statute provides is that, to the effect we've utilized this safe harbor provision, there's an absolute cap at what the city is obligated to pay the writer of the letter at $30,000. He's entitled up into that amount, but it has to be reasonable costs and expenses, and he's required to provide documentation sufficient to the city to basically demonstrate that that was the expenses incurred by the attorney and or his consultants to bring forward the Voting Rights Act claim. So there is no arbitration per se written into the statute. If there's a dispute concerning that amount, then that's likely something that would result in litigation to determine ultimately what the reasonable costs would be.
And I suspect this would be on a fee motion. Should there be litigation, he would claim significantly more than $30,000 to try to get the judge to cut it down to 30 or somewhere around 30. And just keep in mind, we'd have to pay our own attorneys, as fine as they are, to defend us as well. So I think, none of us like having to pay this, but it was the least bad option there was.
Okay, so what I wanted to pull it, so I kind of think along the lines of Councilmember Murphy. I wanted to see if we can offer a lesser amount and see what happens. And so I would like to make a motion that we offer, I don't know, pick a number, $20,000 to settle, and see if Shankman and his firm will accept a $20,000 payment in lieu of the 30. That's my motion.
I will second.
No.
Okay, any discussion?
We can try it. Sounds good.
Well, I mean, but so
no harm.
Yeah, no harm. Okay, so
Well, could we ask that question, though? Would you take a question?
yeah.
Is there any harm in doing this?
By statute, the amount owing under this action is due 45 days from our receipt of the letter. We received the letter on August 6th, so 45 days out would be September 20th. If I'm sensing that the council would like to go back and propose a settlement, we could do that and then be able to report back to the council at our meeting on the 17th in advance of that hard deadline.
So we have time.
So there's a bit of time. It's a tight time
Really
frame,
getting tight.
but we're still within that 45-day period as of today and as of our next regularly scheduled meeting.
We're not opening ourselves up to anything over the 30,000, though, by offering less?
I mean, I have to be real careful because some of this is leaning towards closed session conversation rather than an open meeting type conversation, but I think your colleagues have already kind of indicated what potential repercussions could be, and there is a potential there that it would result in a lawsuit being filed.
Okay.
Okay.
What if we provide our city attorney the authority up to 30, and he can handle negotiations? Just a thought.
Yeah, well, we might just go to 30, I think. So that's what I think. If we don't put a governor, whatever, a cap on it, I think
we may not
end up there. So
we may not have time.
Yeah.
But
If I could, are there, looking at the invoice that was submitted from the Shankman Law Firm, are there areas where you feel there hasn't been sufficient or adequate documentation that you would like to see more supportive documentation on.
The documentation is there, it's whether we agree with
So,
it or
yeah,
not.
so
That, you know, they hire a demographer to look at our,
I certainly understand the sentiment here. It's just, unfortunately, within the statute itself, that the term reasonable cost and expense isn't necessarily synonymous with what the city feels or the city has paid for its respective attorney's fees or experts. So I'm just curious to know if there's anything else the council wanted from Shankman to help in that decision, or if I suppose we may have a motion on.
Yeah, so, yeah, I think without further discussion, I guess I don't want to, Michael, I don't want to go too deep into any of that. So, you know, when I look at, our cost and, the amount of, I'll say, we're a small city, and there wasn't really much here to study from what I saw. So, again, without going into specific quantitative numbers, it's just sort of a gut feel that it had to be cheaper to beat up on the second smallest city in Orange County than to go after like a Mission Viejo or a Palmdale Lancaster. So that's why I was thinking to offer that. So that's the motion. Go ahead and put it to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, 4-0. No no's? Okay, 4-0. Thank you. And then I guess we'll agendize it for next month if you're unsuccessful, right? Okay. Thank you. All right, that takes care of consent. Oh, let's see. I'm sorry, I think I just lost it. Okay, next up on public hearing, item 12A. Go ahead.
Check the staff report. Mayor Pro Tem and City Council, the Interim Development Services Director, Andy Perea, will do the staff report.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and members of the council. Code Amendment 2018-06 is a cleanup ordinance that proposes to amend the Los Alamitos Municipal Code for provisions pertaining to parking for condominium conversions and clarify parking provisions found in the R2 and R3 zones. As Mayor Pro Tem Kuzumoto indicated earlier, the TAC committee, or Technical Advisor Committee, which is the committee that was formed to provide input in the zoning code update, talked about parking at the last TAC meeting. And one of the issues came up was the number of parking spaces required for uses in the R2 and R3 zones. This ordinance does not address that issue. That issue will be followed up during the comprehensive code update. What this ordinance proposes to do is to eliminate the condominium conversion development standards that are found in the subdivision ordinance, because development standards are typically found in your zoning ordinance and they're duplicated there. It prohibits tandem parking to meet minimum code requirements, and it adds a definition of tandem parking. It increases the requirement from 1 to 2 for enclosed parking spaces for condominiums. It requires automatic garage door openers for single and two-car garages in the condominium uses. It also requires a minimum of 200 cubic square feet of storage in the carport areas. It reduces the backup area from 28 feet to 24 feet. And finally, it clarifies the minimum dimension for unobstructed garage areas to be 10 by 20 for a minimum two-car garage. Staff recommends that the City Council conduct the public hearing and introduce the ordinance before you. And unless there are any questions, that concludes my report.
Okay, back to the council. Any questions of staff before we open up the public hearing?
I just had one quick question. This would only affect new construction, or would it affect a remodel construction based on how much they're remodeling?
It would affect remodel construction as well in the R2 and R3 zones.
If they're just doing basic remodeling, or if they're tearing down all the walls and leaving one wall, is there a level of, or if it's just if they're pulling a permit to do any kind of remodel?
The way the code is currently written, it would be any remodel, but that is also one of the issues that we're going to be looking at in the comprehensive code update, is to allow for some minimum increases without having to bring the entire property up into current code standards.
Okay, thank you.
No questions. So, Andy, if you can talk about the condominium changes again, just a little bit more detail on the condominium change?
Sure. The previous code required a single-car garage for condominium. The proposed ordinance now increases that requirement to 2, and also that it provide a automatic garage door opener. It in the subdivision ordinance, there was also language on development standards, which are typically found in your zoning code. So the ordinance proposes to eliminate the standards that are found in the subdivision ordinance, and that they all be contained in the zoning ordinance.
Okay. Thank you. With no other questions, we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. Any member of the public wishes to speak on this item, please approach. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public hearing and back to the council. Any other questions, discussions? Is there a motion?
Move the item.
Second.
Okay. Now this one we just do a regular, oh.
If I-
Oh, yes. Oh, I'm sorry,
If I
please.
may, for the record,
Yes.
I can read the title of the ordinance in. Before the City Council for introduction this evening is ordinance number 2018-06, entitled, "An Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Los Alamitos, California, approving zoning ordinance amendment 18-02 to repeal sections 16.19.030 and 17.34.060B6 regarding parking standards for condominium conversions, and replace each with section 17.26.065, and further amend Title 17 of the Los Alamitos Municipal Code to modify off-street parking requirements for multiple family residential uses in the R2 and R3 residential zoning districts and define tandem parking."
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion and a second for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? None, so it passes 4-0. Thank you. Okay. What's next? So next would be 13, Wendy, is that right? 13A, discussion items. City manager.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council. I am pleased to bring these next two items forward for your consideration of
Brett, I'm sorry.
Before you get started on 13.8, I'm recusing myself due to a financial relationship with Ms. Valdez on 13A and a member of my family.
Did you get that, Wendy? Reason for recusal, thank you.
Okay, 13A, and what this item is, the first item, 13A, is consideration of approval of an agreement with Finance Director, Mrs. Maria Luisa Valdez. She has been with us as interim Administrative Services Director for the past almost 1 year now. She's done a good job working with the Budget Standing Committee and with the City Council, bringing forward an adopted budget for approval this year, a balanced budget. She's worked with the auditing firm last year to close out the books. She's working on this year, getting ready for upcoming audit as well. And she has accepted the position that's the agreement on your agenda for consideration at Step E of Tier 2 of the non-represented group at $138,112 annually. And at this point, it's my staff's recommendation for approval of the agreement. Answer any questions that you may have.
Council, any questions? Okay, I'll open it up for public comment. Any member of the public wish to speak on this item? Seeing none, go ahead and bring it back to the council. Is there a motion?
I will, based on my experience in working with her for the past year in the budget and finance, I'm excited to work with her in a permanent position, and we require all of our finance directors to bring their own magic hat and rabbit, so start pulling out the rabbits, and I'm looking forward to working with you on a permanent basis. And with that, I'll make a motion.
Second.
Thank you. Okay. No further discussion. We'll go ahead and put it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, was 3-0, and we can bring back
Hey, Wendy. He called her Mrs. Is she a Mrs.?
Councilmember Churko.
I wanted to get on Brad if he was wrong.
Next, we have
Can't ask him.
13B, which is another employment agreement. City manager.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council. This is the second item of the two agreements that you have on your agenda for consideration of approval. And I'm pleased to bring forward the recommendation to hire Les Johnson as our permanent Development Services Director. At the same time, I'm also sad that Andy Perea, our interim Development Services Director, has been fantastic. Will be leaving, but he'll be working with us on the transition for a short period of time coming up here. Mr. Johnson is currently the Community Development Director at the City of Indio, and he resides in Indio. He wants to bring his family here to Orange County. He has 25 years of experience in planning, primarily in that field, and overall managerial experience, and running a planning department, and he is well established in the field, well thought of it with all of his peers, and we're just very fortunate to be able to land him here. With that, I am recommending the approval of the agreement for the Development Services Director, and his salary is at Step E, Tier 2, non-represented group, or $152,271 annually. And I will take any questions the City Council may have.
Any questions? No. I do have some. Can you describe the size of the city that he is currently serving? Just a comparison to,
it's in the 50,000, it might be 70,000 range, the city of Indio. He also worked before that at the city of La Quinta, and full disclosure, I worked with him at the city of La Quinta as well. La Quinta is 45,000. Before that, he worked for a town in Washington, which is 13,000 population, which is very comparable to our community, and that's one of the things that he really liked about coming here.
Okay, and then certainly I would imagine the desert cities, La Quinta and Indio, are probably spread out a lot more than we are here.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so probably a few miles of driving. Okay, if there's no questions, I'm going to go ask for public comments on this. If there are any member of the public wishing to speak. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close that. And
real quick, no questions. I just wanted to say thank you to Andy. My interactions with him have all been very professional, and he's been great. So thank you, Andy.
Thank you. Okay, to a vote. All those in favor of the recommended action?
Did you have a motion?
Oh,
a motion?
I thought we did. I beg your pardon. No, thanks.
I'll move it.
You're right. I got ahead of myself. I'm sorry. Hasselbrink? Thank you. And then Hasselbrink, motion, Churko, second. Okay. I apologize for that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None, so it's 4-0. Thank you. And the next one is 13C, League of Cities.
The city clerk will do this presentation.
This item is to provide direction to the voting delegate for the League of California Cities Annual Conference. It's being held in Long Beach this year in September. Our voting delegate is Mayor Edgar, and our alternate is Councilmember Hasselbrink. There are only 2 resolutions that are being submitted for consideration this year. The detailed information was included in your packets, but the first resolution was regarding vulnerabilities to local authority, control, and revenue. And the second resolution was regarding negative impacts on regarding pesticides. So if the council would like to give their delegates direction.
Thank you. Any questions about this? I'm not Wendy, but just maybe a discussion about League of Cities. And did you go last year? You wanna?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great conference. Last year was up in Sacramento. They vary it back and forth between Northern California and Southern California. It's a great time of networking, not only with your colleagues from cities throughout the state, but also through vendors. A lot of our outside vendors that we work with here are represented up there. It's just a real good time of sharing ideas and issues and trying to come up with some collaboration about how to move forward. In looking at both of these resolutions, to me, they were pretty obvious. They both dealt with local control on different issues, and anytime I have an option to vote for local control, I'll absolutely support it. And that's kind of where I stand now.
So if you can, just for, especially for the candidates that are out there, talk a little bit more about League of Cities at a higher level, what they do.
So League of California Cities is basically a lobbyist organization. They're represented statewide, from all the way from San Diego all the way up to as far as you can. Most cities are member cities. I don't believe all are, but it's a very valuable lobbyist when we have something that we feel legislation that is going to affect us either negatively or positively. They are the ones that actively support or oppose, get the legislators' ear. They're located literally across the street from the Capitol up in Sacramento, so they can walk across the street and hit up different legislators to support or oppose various legislative ideas. We've seen their voice and how it's changed some motions, which was always good. And they're just really good to deal with. They have an Orange County chapter that we're very involved with down here that represents more of Orange County. As you can imagine, we don't always agree with some of the positions they take, but they have to look at it as a statewide position. But we have the Orange County section that tends to understand where we're coming from as an Orange County, as opposed to something in the Bay Area or something in a more an agricultural area. We found it to be a very valuable organization to belong to, and we've all stayed very active in it. As far as they've got a new mayors and council members conference in January that I flew up to when I first came into office, and they taught how to get along with the media, how to get along with your city manager, and how to get along with each other, how to conduct meetings, all the different rules and regulations, the Brown Act and everything that you just walk into not being able to blink, and they teach you that in about 2.5 days. So it's very, very valuable. I've made some great friends and colleagues just meeting people that I see once or twice a year, and it's because of the league. So I'm very supportive of things that they do, and even though I might not always agree with everything they advocate for us as Orange County and our city, I'm very fond of the work that they do on our behalf.
Thank you. And then I'm going to put Churko, Councilmember Churko. You just went to the training. If you just describe a little bit of that, and then and we'll move on.
Yeah, sure. So I was appointed to the city council in December and fortunate to go to the new council members and mayors training with city manager Plumley. And it was great because being new to the city council, you don't know, you really don't know a lot, particularly about the rules and ways in which you might step out of line accidentally, Brown Act violations, other sorts of things. And so it's a good way to learn how to not only, not break any of the rules, but also just how to be more effective, how to get along with your colleagues. Although this is an easy group to get along with. But just a lot of things that you wouldn't otherwise know, and it would take you a lot longer to learn that just through trial and error, and you really don't want to do too much error when you're up here, so it's a great event.
And I want to, Richard, if I may, I guess to kind of tag along to that. So what happens, some of us we serve on a commission, and we learn some of the parliamentary process, the motion, the second, and then the all-important Brown Act, because they are public meetings. So Councilmember Churko served on Parks Commission. Councilmember Murphy served on traffic. He and I served on traffic at different points in time. Councilmember Hasselbrink served on the TV commission. So we've all been on a commission, so we had some exposure, but I don't know if any of the students out here served on student government, but I hope you had some chance there. But then again, for the candidates, I think this is probably something to look into, at least be familiar with what this is. In fact, just last month, we voted to, I think it was last month, right, to stay a member of this organization because of the value it brings. So I'm sorry, Councilmember Murphy, you had some comments?
No, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. So I'll just ask, for a motion on this item.
I'll move.
And it's, what was the motion to?
To approve both of the resolutions that they're asking for approval for.
Okay, and so Churko Murphy. And I'm going to ask any member of the public wish to speak, provide a little more input for us on this matter. Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and no public comment. Okay, to the vote then. All those in favor of the motion to instruct our delegate, Mayor Edgar, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Okay. And is that it?
That's it.
That's it. Okay.
For mayor.
Yeah.
This meeting I've ever been to.
I want to just a little go back. I did attend the Eagle Court of Honor for 3 fine young men over here at Good Shepherd. If you can just make sure we add their names to the record. Adrian Leung, Ryan Hom, and Tobin Torres, and you have all their names. I was able to pass out commendations to them, and it was just a great achievement for any young person. Girl Scouts too, when they get their golden palms. But any last comments from the council, staff, city manager?
I meant to mention Starbase. I went to the Starbase
Yes.
grand opening last Friday over at Joint Forces Training Base, and if you guys get an opportunity to go tour that outstanding facility.
Okay. City Attorney, anything else?
Not at this
We're going to call this meeting adjourned, then. Thank you all. Wow.
Great work.